Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of On Hand Cooking. If you've been watching the On Hand Cooking videos, by now hopefully you've learned about lots of good things to eat and why we eat them. But in this episode, we'll be doing things a little bit differently because I hereby solemnly declare June to be Cast Iron Skillet Month in the On Hand Kitchen. We'll begin this episode by learning the ins and outs of this durable, versatile kitchen workhorse. And we'll wrap up the episode by cooking something in the cast iron that you wouldn't traditionally think you would cook in a cast iron. And then all month long, we'll be whipping up delicious recipes cooked right here. Now, despite the fact that cast iron cookware has been used for literally thousands of years, this cookware seems to get a bad rap as being high maintenance, requiring extra care that your normal pots and pans don't. But I'm here to dispel those myths and rumors, to tell you that the cast iron is truly my very favorite cookware. And sure, this pan might require a quick massage with some oil after each use, but just imagine how versatile, durable, hardworking, and non-stick you would be if you got a little massage after every use. In this episode, we'll learn the basics of cooking with cast iron, and before long, you'll realize why it's my favorite cookware. And I bet by the end of this episode, it'll be your favorite too. Let's get started. Now, there's a lot of contradicting information on the internet, but I'll just tell you what I know about the cast iron and what's worked for me. And then if you're interested, you can search the web yourself and let me know what you've learned. Or better yet, really get to know your own cast iron and see how you do. Let's start by understanding the benefits of cooking with cast iron. These days, these pans come in all shapes and sizes, and although they can be a little on the heavy side, no other cookware offers the versatility of the cast iron. You can take this baby right from stovetop to oven to grill and even to the campfire. And once you develop the perfect seasoning, which isn't at all hard, this baby will handle everything from eggs to desserts and even pizza. And because nothing heats up or retains heat quite like a cast iron, they're amazing for searing meats. And because its non-stick surface comes from the polymerization of fat bonding to your pan, there's no harmful chemicals to be concerned about. And that's my number one reason for loving cast iron. Pans made from aluminum and even those with a slick non-stick chemical surface can leach into your food. And although I've read that that could be controversial, I'm not taking any chances, especially when I have a proven safe alternative like the cast iron. And as far as pans cost, you can't get any less expensive or more economical than the cast iron. Okay, so if you're sold on the cast iron, next up we're gonna need to know how to season it. It's an easy process, and once you get it right, your cast iron will never let you down. Seasoning your cast iron is just a fancy way for saying sticking fat onto the bottom of this thing. Now these days, brand new cast iron comes pre-seasoned from the factory, and they use a soy-based oil to create the polymerization process to make this non-stick surface. According to the manufacturer, your pan should be ready to use after just a little rinse with some warm water. But in case you got lucky enough to find a cast iron at a yard sale or was handed down to you from another generation, or it's just been left in a cabinet for too long, let's go through the seasoning process so that if you ever need it again, you'll know exactly what to do and also understand just how easy it is. Now, to season your pan for the first time, you'll just set your oven to 450 degrees. And after rinsing with warm water, you'll just drop a little bit of oil into the bottom of the pan and use a rag or paper towel to really massage the oil into all the little crevices to create that polymerization, which will give you that non-stick surface. Then you can just put a cookie sheet in the bottom of your oven and turn your pan upside down. The cookie sheet will catch any drips from whatever residue oil is left over. And leave that pan to bake for about 20 minutes. Now, you might need to do that a couple of times to get the seasoning just right, but once you get it right, it'll never let you down. Because you want to maintain a nice thin layer of fat on that pan to keep it from sticking, you don't ever need to use soap. Just some warm water and maybe a little bit of scrubbing is all you'll ever need to clean your pan. So the seasoning process is really simple and might have to be done in the event that you get a little rust in your pan, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Or if it sat too long or had some really caked on item, or someone accidentally used some soap on your cast iron. If you find that you've got food stuck to it, like sometimes that happens if your pan isn't properly seasoned, all you have to do is take a couple tablespoons of coarse sea salt and rub it into the bottom of that pan. You can also use a little scrub brush, like this, to loosen up any food debris that might be stuck. Then you'll just rinse your pan with some warm water. Now, because it's made of iron is prone to rusting, so you want to be sure to get your pan extra dry. And of course you can do that with a dish towel, but I'll tell you how I like to do it. I mean, that's why we're here, isn't it? To get it extra dry, you'll just set it on your burner over about a medium heat and wait until all the water droplets have cooked right out of it. You can use just about any oil to season your cast iron. Only oils that the manufacturers don't recommend using are sesame, a refined olive oil, or flaxseed oil. And that's fine, because I don't recommend them either. I like to season my cast iron pots with exactly the oils I would cook with, which is either coconut or sunflower. When the pans become nice and hot, we'll just sprinkle a little bit of oil, just enough to coat the bottom. You don't want to waste your oil. Maybe a teaspoon or two. You know I don't measure. And as long as your pan is cool enough, you'll just give that a little swirl around and let it continue to sit on the heat until it distributes itself evenly in the bottom of the pan. Like this. Then you can turn off your heat. You can certainly use a paper towel for this, but because I like to be conservative and don't really use paper products, I like to keep a little rag designated just to my cast irons. And while the pan is still warm, but not hot, just use your little rag or paper towel to gently massage that oil into the pan. And you'll know you've got a proper seasoning on your pan when it's nice and slick and black and shiny. And when your pan is nice and clean and cool, you can put it away. I like to hang our cast iron because not only does it offer easy access, it allows for plenty of air circulation to make sure that cast iron stays nice and dry and rust proof. Now, in the event that you do see some rust on the bottom of your pan, no need to fret. Even the oldest of cast irons can usually be brought back to life. You just simply apply a little bit of the salt, or if the rust is really stubborn, you can even use a little piece of steel wool and then just follow that seasoning process from the beginning. And heat and oil are all you need to create that polymerization and a nice nonstick surface. Now, while nothing quite retains heat like the cast iron, it's not the greatest conductor of heat. And that means that you want to be sure to cook over the appropriate size burner that matches well with the size of the cast iron you're using. Big cast iron, big burner. Small cast iron, small burner. One thing to remember with the cast iron that you don't want to forget is that the handle gets really hot. Now, they make these little silicone sleeves that go right over the handle, but I just use a dish towel. And now that we've gone over all the basics of seasoning and care and benefits of the cast iron, I hope you're ready to either dig your old cast iron out, ask your grandmother for hers if she's no longer using it. Why wouldn't she be using it? Or get on the internet and order yourself a brand new cast iron skillet. But before we close out this episode, I'm going to teach you how to make oatmeal in your cast iron. Yes, oatmeal. And if you've seen episode 5, by now you know how much I love oatmeal. Cooking oatmeal in our cast iron skillet with just a little bit of coconut oil is going to give us that chewy texture of oatmeal, but on the bottom will be a nice crispy crust, almost like granola. All you need to make oatmeal in your cast iron is some water, your oats of course, a pinch of sea salt or pink Himalayan salt, and a spoonful of coconut oil. Start by turning your burner to medium and add enough water to fill the pan about halfway. Then add your tablespoon or so of your coconut oil and a pinch of salt, which will really bring out the flavor of those oats. And a little splash of vanilla if you like, which I like. Then we'll let that oil get nice and melty and let your water come to a boil. And after just a few minutes, when that water has come to a boil, drop in a couple cups of oats and give things a little stir so that all of your oats are submerged in water. Then reduce the heat to a simmer and patiently wait for the magic to happen. Don't touch those oats. Let them just simmer and bubble and do their thing. Now what's happening is the oats are absorbing all that water to take on that chewy oatmeal feeling you're used to. But on the bottom, the oil is creating a nice slick surface to keep it from sticking, and it's going to create a crispy, crunchy bottom that you are going to love. If you're using frozen fruit, you can go ahead and add that now. I love cranberries in my oatmeal. And the heat from the oatmeal will help to thaw that fruit. Now you almost can't overcook this. The longer you leave it in, the crispier the oats. When your fruit is thawed and all of the water has been absorbed, and things might even appear a little golden around the edges, we'll just turn off the heat and we'll just transfer our oatmeal to a bowl. This is what cooking oatmeal in a cast iron does for you. See all those little crispy bits down there? Yep. You won't get that cooking your oatmeal in a pot. Then we'll just add a few toppings like some coconut, hemp hearts, nuts of choice. I'm choosing walnuts, chia seeds, maybe top things off with a splash of maple syrup and a little coconut milk or nut milk of your choice. Cashew yogurt, episode 4. And I think we know what time it is. It's tasting time. You know we did it again, friends. This time in our cast iron. And all month long, we'll be making lots of delicious things in our cast iron skillet. If you have any questions about a cast iron, where to purchase, how to season, how to troubleshoot, feel free to leave your questions in the comments below, or you can DM me on Instagram at On Hand Cooking. You can also find me on Facebook at Robin Moriarty. If you like this video, please subscribe below. And please be sure to share these with your friends so we can help everyone eat and cook healthy. Thanks so much for joining me for another fun episode of On Hand Cooking. I can't wait to see you next week and all month long for Cast Iron Skillet Month. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. See you next week.